Us in the studio. Thanks very much for your time.
Great to be here. Thanks, Liz.
So as I mentioned, Doug Hoffman was here. He said some things about you that I think you're probably going to want to respond to, and I'd like to take a look at that clip, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Actually created jobs in this district, and I know what it takes to create a job in this district.
But
that's a major difference. But if you want a policy issue, one of the major issues is that I am pro-life and Matt Doheny is pro-choice. The second issue is that Matt Doheny supports earmarks in pork barrel spending, and I do not. And I think those are two major issues that define the differences between us. And I think that if you look at our actions, which speaks louder than words, you'll see that I've been a true conservative all my life. And I haven't just changed to say what the voters want to hear.
So apparently you are a liberal carpetbagger.
Well, I mean, look, I think taking no order of importance. Number one, I mean, my opponent's dead set wrong in terms of my position on earmarks. I don't know where he got that from. I'm against earmarks. I've been very clear about that. So I don't know. It's on my website. I don't know where he got that from, number one. So, I mean, that's just flat out wrong.
When you say that, does that mean, when you say you're against it, that means you will not take them, you will not accept them at all?
Look, in terms of right now, the Republican leadership, as you know, has said there's no more earmarks for the Republican conference, which after hopefully myself and 40 other Republicans get elected, that, you know, John Boehner will become Speaker of the House, and that will be the policy. So certainly I think that's going to be more of a national policy. So yeah, that's Doug's wrong in my position there. You know, number two, in terms of, you know, job creation and understanding things, like I spent, you know, the last decade of my life, you know, trying to invest in and help turn around businesses, you know, troubled, worst case, even bankrupt. So I certainly understand what it takes to make sure businesses not only thrive, but actually get through tough periods. And that's how I've been successful over the course of the last decade. So in terms of, you know, again, what my opponent says there, I'm afraid he's missed the mark yet again.
Well, is he actually referring to the fact maybe that you didn't live in the district? I know you were originally from the district,
well,
but you didn't live there all of your life.
Well, certainly, and ironically enough, neither has Doug. But putting that fact aside, certainly, you know, I'm a guy that, you know, went away, you know, would travel back and forth, literally commute every weekend, you know, for many years, and, you know, own property in the district for almost a decade. So certainly, I understand. And look, I live in Watertown. You know, that's where my home is. That's where my business is. So I don't think that's an issue whatsoever. And lastly, you know, my position is on abortion is, look, I'm 100% against federal funding of abortion, 100% against partial birth abortion, very much pro-adoption, as well as, you know, in favor of sensible restrictions and regulation, parental notification, and so on and so forth. So
in terms of things that you might vote on in Congress, you believe actually that you would have, if you were in Congress, 100% voting record for the pro-life side of the aisle?
Look, certainly, I think, I don't know if you want to 100%, but certainly we would certainly have a record. I think people who have that persuasion would be comfortable with, without question. And
on some of the other hot-button social issues, you are against gay marriage?
Yes, I believe marriage is between a man and woman. You know, grew up Catholic, go to Mass every week, and certainly I believe marriage is between man and a woman.
And gun control, for example?
I'm 100% against gun control. I don't think the NRAs have come out with their ratings yet, but I'm surely that we'll get an A rating.
Do you own any guns?
I sure do.
And do you use them regularly?
As often as possible, but we've been on the campaign trail, so it's been pretty tough over the last 7 months, Liz.
As a sportsman, you mean, right? You don't just, I think that's what you mean. You do mean
certainly is not, yes ma'am.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. So, okay, so let's move on in terms of you moving into the district and deciding that you would run for Congress. I mean, usually when people do this, they come into the district and they move up the food chain, if you will, politically speaking. They might run for school board, and then they might run to be, I don't know, county legislature. You decided to go right for Congress. Why was that?
Well, I mean, I think that in terms of my skill set, in terms of understanding the economy and being part of, you know, turning around troubled businesses, certainly, you know, the opportunity to fill a congressional seat like we have here in the 23rd doesn't come along very often as well, Liz. I mean, if you look back, since World War II, it's only been held by a handful of people, which is, you know, we're talking 70 years now. So these opportunities don't come along very often. But in terms of my skill set and the deep understanding of the economy, because look, I mean, I've been for 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, all over this district for the past 7 months, and it truly is about the economy and the state of where we're going as a country. People are sick and tired and scared of the deficits. They're terrified by the national health care, which has been passed and looming, as well as just in terms of where we see in the horizon of tax rates increasing and more regulation, and people are bothered by that. And so my skill set, I think, lends uniquely to helping be part of to fix the problem.
One of the other things that Doug Hoffman said was that you had supported Assemblywoman Didi Skazafava in the special election for the seat that you're talking about actually used to belong for over 100 years to
yes,
the Republicans. It was last held by John McHugh, now the Secretary of the Army, tapped by Obama to serve in that position. She was pushed out. She was too moderate at the time, and she was pushed out of the race. And then you had supported her, and you actually also wanted to run at the time, and didn't get the nod from the Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things need to be brought to light. I mean, there was a process where the county chairs ended up picking Didi, and obviously we saw the unfortunate, terrible result of what happened there, where the unthinkable of her pulling out and supporting Mr. Owens. But I think people need to be aware that in terms of going on to the Conservative, the Conservative Party asked me first, and the key reason why I didn't is because I pledged that I would support whoever the Republican that was chosen by the county chairs. And so that is why I supported Didi with that donation that my opponent keeps talking about, only because of the sense of I live up to my word. Simple as that. That's why I learned that growing up in Alexander Bay. You got to be a man of your word no matter what it is: sports, business, life, including politics. And so, again, people need to realize that I was Conservative's choice before Doug, and I respectfully declined.
But you also have said that now you feel like upset with her because you don't respect quitters, and you feel like she quit the race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, again, you always go, no matter if you're down 45-0 in football or 10-0 in hockey, sports I played a lot of and loved dearly. You played to the final whistle. You don't quit, and you certainly don't change teams at the end, I tell you that.
Okay, but to that end, you also have the Independence Party line, so you're running right now on two lines. If something happens and you do not win the GOP primary, what will you do? Will you then stay on the Independence Party line, or will you commit to backing whoever the Republican is, which would, of course, maximize your chances as Republicans of beating Bill Owens?
Yes. And I've been very clear about this, that I believe in competition. Growing up and playing all over the rinks of the North Country in Central New York and the ball fields, that's about competition. That's the way I view the Republican primary. Certainly, I've been fortunate to get the Independence Party. My opponent has the Conservative line. But look, the reality is it's all about the Republican primary. And whoever wins that is the one that should go forward and take this seat back.
So then you
I feel very confident it will be me, Liz, to be very clear.
But you would endorse.
But I will. But I've been very clear that I believe that in competition, and so part of competition, it's great when you win, but when you don't win, and I do believe I'm going to win, I will get out of the race and I will support the who the Republican voters choose, I will support.
And would you be able to get off the Independence Party line? You are an attorney, and would you be able to get off there and run for a judgeship, for example?
I honestly don't know, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know what the mechanics are, but I've been very clear that, again, I believe in the wishes of the voters, and again, we believe we're going to win, but in the small chance we don't, I will gladly step aside and do whatever the Republican Party needs to make sure this seat, as you said, gets back in Republican hands, which it was for over a century.
This race has gotten a little bit on the ugly side of late, and there have been issues regarding your life that have been brought up. There were two drunk boating incidents that came up 6 years ago, and you have said that you are very sorry. And do you think that this calls into question your judgment?
Well, as I said, it was a terrible mistake. I've apologized and I'm embarrassed by it. But you learn from your mistakes. I'm human. I think most of our viewers with you tonight are human. I'm human as well. But more importantly, I wanted to be transparent. This is something that I put out there to the media. I gave all the
records of the arrest.
Absolutely.
Yep.
This was only prompted by me making sure that, hey, I'm running for federal office. I think everyone should know everything. But equally as important is that, look, I deeply respect law enforcement, the job they do every day, whether it's federal, state, or local, and I deeply respect and appreciate the job that they do every single day.
I asked Doug Hoffman a question that I think it would be important for you to respond to as well. What is the main difference between you and him that voters should know that if they sent one of you over the other to Washington would be significant, because both of you are fairly conservative, as you've already said, both of you are Republicans, and of course, clearly you would vote differently than Bill Owens?
Well, without question. But I think, look, my opponent and I are both good conservatives. And I think what it comes down to is, I have the depth and the understanding of the issues to make sure that I fully can help lead the country and certainly respond to all the needs in the 23rd Congressional District. Look, I work hard. I have the enthusiasm and I have the hustle that you need to go ahead and take out the existing congressmen. And lastly is that beyond the depth of the issues, beyond, the hard work, look, I'll be able to go ahead and be a leader. Like, I fought for everything I've had in my life, whether it's on the ball fields or whether it's in the business world. And that's the type of skill set and that's the type of makeup that people need representing them here in the 23rd District, whether in the Adirondacks or the North Country or in Central New York. So I think that sets me clearly apart from my opponent. I've been outworking. And look, at the end of the day, the Republican primaries, who do the voters want to make sure that we take the seat back for, again, it's been a century since we had a non-Republican represent us. And I'm in best position because every single time, Liz, I get a chance to compete, we win, whether it's for endorsements for county-wide and committees, thousands of people. Petition signatures, we had almost 10,000. Or whether it's fundraising. I've beaten my opponent by almost in a 10-to-1 ratio. I mean, that's the type of success we'll have, and we'll keep going.
But some of that money is yours.
Absolutely,
no?
Certainly, without question. But we've raised well over almost $750,000 away from that as well, which again allowed us to have a campaign office in almost every county to go ahead and been running TV advertisements and internet and direct mail and things like that. So every time we get a chance to compete, we've been successful, and we're very positive and very upbeat going into September 14th.
Well, just a few more weeks. I hope that you have a lot of coffee because it's going to be
it's an exciting time
race.
here. It's very exciting, Liz, and we're very much enthusiastic. And as I said, 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. We've been doing this for almost 7 months now. So
yeah, that's quite a schedule. Well, we'll be following you. I want to thank you very much, Matt Doheny, for coming in and talking to us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Liz.